Christie, we ready? Thank you. So we'll call the September 7, 2022 meeting of the Greenwood Board of Public Works and Safety to order at 5:30 p.m. Amanda, roll call, please.
Mr. Rutherford.
Here.
Mr. Hoover.
Here.
Mr. Coleman.
Here.
Thank you.
Minutes of our last meeting of August 15, 2022 have been distributed to members of the board in corrections, additions, and deletions, and staff. Hearing none, is there a motion for approval as presented?
So moved. Second.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. First on our agenda is Jason Struckman, 2498 Ashton Lane. Mr. Struckman, good evening. You want to just step up to the podium there and tell us what you'd like to do?
Oh, we're just filing for the encroachment on our property that's on chain link fence.
I hope you've had a memo from John Thompson of the city with respect to this matter and suggesting some proposed conditions. Have you seen that?
Yes,
Those three conditions, did you have a chance to review those?
yes,
Was there any problems with any of those?
none at all.
Any questions? For Jason?
I move for approval with those conditions. Second.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. That's pretty painless.
Completely.
Next, we're gonna look at 2453 Wildflower Lane. Is the homeowner here in person or present online?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, great, thank you. We understand you've got a fence encroachment request. Tell us what you'd like to do.
Yes, sir.
You want
Yes.
to put up a fence in your backyard?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did you just receive a memo from our office regarding some proposed conditions to your encroachment request?
I didn't receive nothing yet.
Let me kind of, our staff has made us some recommendations that if we approve this request that we would ask you to comply with. And the first would be that the encroachment be allowed to be constructed so as to allow for adequate drainage. And second would be that the fence be constructed no closer than 5 feet to the existing sanitary sewer line. And if it does cross the sanitary sewer line, no post shall be within 4 feet of the sewer. And most importantly, from our perspective, if there's any work that needs to be done in that easement area by the city or any of the utilities that might cause harm to your fence, the removal and replacement of the fence would be at your expense. And you would hold the city and any utilities harmless from that damage. And that you would call Indiana 811, or I guess you would contact Indiana 811 online prior to installing your fence. And that there would be no work or encroachment within the 5-foot non-access easement located along the eastern portion of your property. Do you understand those?
Yes, sir.
That's the southern portion. It should be the eastern.
Mine says eastern.
That's southern.
There was a correct, yeah, it was
Correct.
Paul updated the corrected memo. I don't know if the one online is the latest.
Thank you for understanding those. Would you agree to each of those conditions?
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions for the homeowner?
If you,
No, thank
talk
you.
about,
I move that we approve the request subject to those 5 conditions.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Motion passes. Thank you, sir. Have a good rest of your evening.
Thank you, sir.
Next, we're going to move to 2223 Sun Gold Court. Mandy Power. Good evening. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. Tell us what you'd like to do.
I have filed an encroachment request for a fence.
As I've asked the other applicants, Did you receive a memo from
Yes.
our office? And it imposed 4 conditions. Did you have any problems with any of those conditions? Okay. Questions for Ms. Coward?
I move for approval of those 4 conditions. Second.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now we're going to move to Cedric and Alicia Pace at 1390 Valdano Drive. Doesn't appear anyone's here in person. Are you here with us online?
Yes, can you hear me?
We can hear you. Thank you. You've got a fence encroachment issue as well, correct?
Yes, we filed a encroachment request for a fence in our backyard.
Have you received the memo from the city suggesting 3 proposed conditions if we grant your request?
Yes,
Did you have any problems or any questions regarding any of those conditions?
no,
I move we approve the request subject to those 3 conditions. Second.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Thanks very much.
okay, thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you. We're going to move out of order just a moment. Lisa, if we can bring the First Baptist Church of Greenwood. They've got a presentation they'd like to make and request. So if you want to come forward, we'll address that. Good evening.
Evening. Colin Osborne with SB Construction, representing First Baptist Church, Greenwood. We have submitted performance bonds for the project along with the plat, just looking for approval of those.
Mark, anything out of the ordinary other than what's in your memo?
I would just touch on that the holder of the bonds is SB Construction and not First Baptist Church. We have the property owner of the the property owner and the developer hold the bonds. They're the one ultimately responsible for the project. There was some, I'm not sure that church elected to go this route, which is not traditional and what we'd like to see. So that is a difference in what we normally see on these performance guarantees.
Does that change your recommendation with respect to this?
It does not. I just wanted to make you all aware of it.
Sam, anything from legal that we need to touch on?
I would move that we approve the request and accept the performance guarantees and execution of the inspection testing agreement and execution of the final plat. With that,
Subject to the original bonds committee, right?
right.
But we actually received that this
You
afternoon.
got that?
Oh,
Yes, that last bond was turned in today.
Great.
I'll second that.
Further discussion? Very good. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thanks, Tom.
Thank you.
We're looking forward to your project.
Thank you. We are too.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, gentlemen.
Thanks, Bill.
Lisa? Good evening.
Good evening. That's Director of Human Resources. I come before you this evening to ask for consideration for an amendment to one of our IT positions. We are actually taking the position of Technician 2 and Technician 3, combining them into simply Technician. So we went ahead and merged the 2 job descriptions together, and we're asking for consideration pending council's approval of the position tonight.
Had an opportunity to review the proposed job description. Any questions for the rest? No, I'll move to approve the city agreement technician job request as presented.
Second.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passed.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks, Lisa. Chief Hoggett, good evening.
Good evening.
What we got?
So we have one of our annual preventative maintenance agreements. This happens to be with Federal Field Services. Those are that's the provider that does all the preventative maintenance on all of the storm sirens that's in the city of Greenwood. The agreement itself is unchanged from last year. The terms are the same, and the price is the same. So I would like to have that approved, and we can get that scheduled for the last quarter of the year.
And this is for Got your Mayor McLaughlin's signature. I believe.
Yeah, yes, please.
I would move for approval. Second.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passed.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief. Next, we're going to talk to Scott about the Strawberry Festival.
Evening.
Good evening.
My name, of course, is Scott. This is my wife, Jackie. We own a Tabor Country Store at Euclid and Madison. We've been at that location for 16 years now, and we've been in business in Greenwood for 26 years as a retail shop. Our proposal is to do a strawberry festival on Main Street. So actually shutting Main Street down for 12 hours from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. in between Madison and Brewer. And that way we would have vendors set up actually on the street, and local businesses also can set up booth space there as well. So what we're looking for is mostly handmade vendors. And then the church parking lot, the First Baptist Church, we need to still contact them about this. Put the strawberry tent, the seating, the food trucks, and restrooms, of course, all in that parking lot. So that way, if the tent takes longer to get down, we can get the Main Street back open by 6 p.m.
When would this take place?
It will be on the first Saturday of June, so Saturday, June 3rd. The actual event hours will be from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. The street would need to be shut down from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. to give the vendors time to set up and tear down.
How many vendors are you going to have?
Approximately 40 vendors, including local and handmade. In the church parking lot, if we get getting access to that, we would like to have 3 food trucks and an ice cream truck. And then, of course, the tent, which would approximately be a 20 by 20 tent set up in the church parking lot for the actual strawberry festival, or serving the strawberries to the community.
So, Scott, this is, let me make sure I'm correct on Main Street between Madison and Brewer. Okay, some of the materials we got said Meridian Street.
Yeah, the Meridian would be awesome too, but it just depends on where the street would close and the detour would happen to move traffic elsewhere. But the
Sounds-
purpose of us doing this is we were asked, why not Craig Park? If we do it at Craig Park, we're pulling people away from the Main Street corridor over to Craig Park. So they don't see the local restaurants, they don't see the local businesses that are currently there. Our goal, we are part of an organization called Discover Old Town Greenwood. It's a merchants association, and our whole goal is to bring people into Greenwood to see the businesses that are here. The more people we can get into Greenwood, the more businesses we can draw in, the more small businesses we can draw in, including restaurants and retail.
Why not use the lot that is just immediately north of this building? It's a larger lot.
If we use the lot, there would not be room for vendors. There would be room for food trucks and the strawberry tent and the tables for the people to sit at. But the actual vendors themselves, I do not think there's enough room. And then we run into the bigger issue of parking. To give you an idea, we just celebrated our 26th anniversary of Greenwood, and we did a summer market in our parking lot at Euclid and Madison. And we had 33 handmade vendors. We had 2 food trucks, and what else? And then we actually jured the vendors to make sure they were handmade. There was 3 of them that were actually Old Town residents that came to set up at our tent or at our store. And we had approximately, we're guesstimating around 2,000 people come out to that event. Not just from Greenwood, they came from Plainfield, Terre Haute, Brownsburg, Greenfield, everywhere. But we had hundreds of people that didn't even know we existed that now know that we're there permanently. And we're getting residual business from that just from 2 weeks ago. And so the goal is to bring people into Old Town to see how vibrant Old Town can be. And the hope is to actually bring in more small business in the empty storefronts that we currently have.
I certainly appreciate that endeavor. I'm just Ken, I have some concerns about shutting down Main Street on a June Saturday.
I like the idea.
Yeah, the whole purpose is to bring the people to the business, not away from the business. So the Freedom Festival is in Craig Park. It doesn't benefit the businesses unless it's people going to a restaurant beforehand.
And how, you said you had 3 at this last one you had, it was, I saw it was very well attended.
Yeah, it was very, it was.
In your parking lot, right?
It was horrible.
Um,
And now that we did so well, Paul from Vino Villa and Yuba Cafe is here to attest that how much additional business he received, and the flower market across the street from us, and the tea room across the street from us. They all had an amazing day. So it benefited not just us as a store, but the entire area around us as well.
I always hate to see a street closed, but I really like the idea, and I think it's not,
And to give you another
Two-
idea, this is
it's not too big a sacrifice, in my opinion.
you said you're gonna have, there's 3 vendors from Greenwood, right? What you said?
that were local vendors, yeah,
Okay.
that were local handmade vendors.
And then where are the rest from?
They came from all over central Indiana, from Plainfield, Mooresville, all of those vendors advertise within their own community to bring extra people in as well.
Do you have specific ones that have committed to do this or?
The Strawberry Festival, we have all of our vendors that we currently have, we have 33. Over half of them are already signed up for next year, and I know they trust us to run a good enough festival that I could easily get at least 15 to 20 of those vendors to participate in this. Another thing, as in local businesses, if local businesses on Main Street or Euclid Avenue wanted to participate in it, we would not charge them for their booth space. So they would have free access to set up their own booth to advertise their local business as well. Because that's the whole purpose of the event, is for the local businesses to benefit from the event.
Could you not use the trail that we just installed in the park south of that location?
It's still pulling people away from the Main Street corridor.
Where they gonna, where's people gonna park?
It would be at the parking lot down here, right just beside this building and back in the valley. Because it would be over by 4, so I don't think it would interrupt the actual car show that goes on down there every Saturday.
Would Market Plaza be an option?
And it still does the same thing, it pulls people away from your Main Street.
It's really close.
Because it would be the same thing as moving over to Craig Park.
I don't know, I have some reservations, and I like the idea. I think try to use this down here, but this one is like to explore other options as far as location. It doesn't, your people, your store is a ways away. You know, Villa's a little bit of ways away, the cafe, Montitori, all the people back in behind there are still a little ways away.
You have it right now, Main Street. We're right there.
Yeah, we have, they're all over there, they're all in support.
Well, we do have 2 businesses from Main Street specifically that are
Yeah,
also.
brick and mortar and board and brush are both here that are Main Street businesses.
So you put the tents in this actual street,
Yes,
both sides of the street, I take it?
no, the street is not wide enough to support both sides, so the tents would all be set up along the north side of Main Street. And then the strawberries would be set up in the church parking lot on the south side. And then that way, it's all open and it feels very festive.
Have you talked to the church?
Not yet. We wanted to make sure that we actually had a festival before we move forward.
Also, just let me point out, when we originally spoke, the parking lot where it says festival is the city
That's the city.
parking lot, not the Baptist. We didn't talk about that, I just,
Not
Yeah,
sure.
and if the church would allow us to use their parking lot, then the strawberry tent stuff could go in that city parking lot as well.
Roads are closed around here all the time. I don't think that makes much difference.
I can.
Good thing it's in June, hopefully. Have the streets open for it.
I asked the deputy mayor his opinion.
I met with Scott, I don't know, probably a couple months ago. You know, I think you know my feelings on closing down the streets. I told them I'm not against it, I just want to make sure there's good enough turnout. It's going to make that street worth closing down. Because you have the whole community that should have the right to use that street instead of making it. So I think if we're going to do it, let's try it once. After that, if it's a good turnout or something, if it's not, then, you know, we don't allow the street to be closed anymore because there's no solution. This is, as you know, they come before you. This is an ever enduring problem that we're seeing. This corridor to be closed, and I can say on the city's behalf, we closed it for the first year of Rock the Clock. We never closed it after that because we saw that it didn't do any good to close that road, and it was an inconvenience for people who travel Main and Max. That would be my suggestion. You try it once, works fine, and then after that, there should be nothing moving forward until the city's had an opportunity to review what it's like.
That's a good idea. Well, I'll move for approval. See if there's a second.
Another thing I could add, as far as the trust and lesson with our event, we were approached by Nick Schwab and what was her name? Jen Winger from the Parks Department. They want to partner up with us on doing a fall festival along the promenade in Old City Park. And we were going to help them with the part of during the handmade. So along the promenade, they wanted all handmade and the music over on the other side. And so we're assisting them with that.
I guess one of the things I'm concerned about, and I think Terry touched on, is if we would do this and we don't get the commitment that you think you're going to get. And I guess I would be inclined to ask, how soon could you get commitments if you had positive reaction from us?
We have to start immediately. Because it takes a while to reserve that space in a vendor's calendar. And so the sooner we can get to the vendor, the faster we can fill the spaces. We started on our event about 6 months ahead of time and worked on it for 6 solid months to do it. So it takes quite a while to put the festival together. And we're already looking into the portalettes, the trash cans, the hand washing stations, all of the things that we're going to need to make sure it stays clean and respectful to the city as well.
Well, I guess I'm concerned that we have enough vendors to make this a viable activity.
That's the
That you can get to church parking lot. You know, they've got new owners now, not the Baptist church. So we get some of those things in place, and I guess I'd be kind, maybe a couple. I'm going to second the motion to approach the discussion. Okay. Another discussion, saying, wondering if it would make some sense to temporarily to grant this condition, I should say, upon you coming back to us within maybe 2 months or something like that, and tell us how you're doing, and to see if we've got something. That would be my preference, either that or a continuance of, I just don't know how long, I don't know your business, and I don't know how long it's going to take for you to get commitments from these folks. So that would, I guess we've got a motion on the floor, and I'll call for a vote.
Would that include then that they come back?
Yeah, I would amend my motion to what you said, that they come back in 2 months with approval from the Baptist Church and a number of vendors.
Amanda, are you okay with clarifying what we just said? Getting that one? Okay,
Yes, sir.
okay, thank you.
It's not that long a road stretch.
Well, construction be done.
That's another good question.
I guess we've got to
Yes.
have that caveat too. that
Yes.
We've got a place to put you.
It should be looking at this latest construction schedule for March.
Lord, I would hope so.
We'll have more people die if it's just you folks. If it's not. Any further discussion on the amended motion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same.
For the record, just so you know, the meeting that you would be returning to will fall on a Wednesday again, because they will pass over for election day. So it'll be November 9th at 5:30. But we'll be in contact with you, Jim.
Thank you, folks. Good luck. Good work. Next is Jacqueline Wyland from Madison Avenue Main Street Issues, again, American Water. Good evening.
How are you all?
Good, how are you?
Good.
Another fun thing you want to talk about, Blizzard Road? Huh?
So I want to talk about the same section of road, basically. So we are looking to replace our main from Madison over to Beachview. This came about in conversations with the fire department to improve some fire flow in that area. So the first part of the project will be, we need to close the intersection of Madison and Main entirely for a week. The reason for that is, as you can see, we need to connect the main that's running from Madison, or in Maine from basically Meridian. We need to connect it to that Madison Street main. And then we need to have a takeoff point for heading down Main Street towards Beachview. We do think we're going to sequence it so that we can do the work in the eastbound lane first, and hopefully at least open traffic to like eastbound, in the eastbound lane within 3 or 4 days, rather than having to keep it closed for the week. But the north part of that intersection has quite a bit of work, as you can see. So this would be a one-time closure. We're kind of setting it up so that we don't have to come back in and do that second closure like we did at Main and Meridian.
Just gray clouded work.
The gray coded work there. So we originally had it set out, I don't know, you can kind of see it in there, it was a much more complicated process. We're gonna lay tees, do some shutdowns, that kind of stuff. Doing it that way would have caused us to be in there for probably closer to 2 weeks. So utilizing some tapping sleeves and getting a little creative about feeding one way and doing some cut and caps that we normally wouldn't do. We normally like to keep our system looped, but it's a minimal risk and it allows us to do it just in that one closure versus having to inconvenience the community twice.
When would you anticipate undertaking this?
So we would like to start this, we would like to start the shutdown on Monday the 12th.
Complete next week.
Yeah, so yeah, it's the Monday, September 12th complete, and then we would have all of our MOT out the 20th, which is Tuesday. So we pick it all up on the 19th. Keep in mind, we will, the bottom portion, the eastbound, I think we anticipate being able to have that open within 3 to 4 days. So we would allow traffic going through eastbound.
Do we have any choice on this?
Not.
You have a choice on it, but if you want a new water main and improved fire flow, this is probably the only way they can connect and run their new water line.
I'll let the contractors work.
So, you know, they'll work 7 to 5, and they'll work longer if they need to basically get this done. Obviously, we will have to complete a shutdown, which, you know, will notify the community and all of that for the cut and caps. So those, when we do those, they work until they're done. So but typically our hours are somewhere between 7 or around 7 to 5 or 7 to 6.
It could be later if need be.
It could be later if need be, yes.
Is this the same crew that worked on the Main Street section?
Yes, it would be the same crew.
Question. Huh.
The boring didn't work too well, right?
I disagree. I think the boring did work pretty well. You know, this area is tough, and we're going to get to the next section. But this area is just, you know, there's a lot of other utilities in the area. There's a lot going on. It's slow going. You know, it's an old area of town. There's a lot of unknowns in the ground. So you know, the boring did work well. I know that it can look like they're not making any progress, but if you think about the fact that they have to remount and then they back ring 2 or 3 times, then they pull in 800 feet. If they were open cutting, we would anticipate them getting 100 feet a day at most, just because the conditions aren't the greatest. So if you kind of look at it that way, it looks like they're doing nothing and they have 800 feet in the ground, whereas if it's open cut, it looks like they're being more productive, but they're, in 4 days, they're only gonna get 400 feet, so.
What kind of detour routes are you
So
contemplating?
that's the detour route we have for the intersection closure. So along Broadway down Meridian and then up Market Plaza.
That's the same posted.
Same.
What's up there.
But it's coming from the north down Madison.
You would no longer, currently you can go northbound on Madison from Main Street, you would not be able to.
But I mean, if you're coming southbound, coming from the north on Madison, what are you doing? Turn over on Pearl?
Broadway, which is what you're doing today with the construction. I believe that construction is, they'll be paving out there about the same time Indiana American Water has their closure.
Sure, evil. Yeah, I think so.
And then there's a second beyond that, after we complete the work in the intersection, then we have to install a main from Madison to Beachview. And we'll be doing that in the westbound lane of Main Street, which is the north side of Main Street. So we will need to close westbound, sorry, am I saying this right? Yep, westbound Main Street for a period of 2 months to complete that work.
When does that start?
So we would like to start that immediately following the work in that intersection. So we would take off from the work from that intersection and head towards Beachview.
And are you boring that one as well?
We are boring that one.
And that's one lane at a time, or is that the entire strip traffic?
You mean, we would only need to close the westbound lane. So what we will be doing during that intersection closure is taking advantage of some of the reduced traffic to pothole anything in the eastbound lane, so that we don't have to affect that traffic when we're doing our drilling work. But we'll install the new main in the westbound lane. And then obviously we'll have some tie overs you can see there at Beachview and Market Plaza.
Is that a 12-inch main as well?
Yes, so it's currently a small diameter 4-inch main, so replacing it with a 12-inch gives us significantly more fire flow. Just as a heads up, next year we're going to be looking at doing Euclid, Greenwood, maybe Broadway, some work in there to improve fire flow in that area as well. We normally would not go in the lane if we had any other choice. We would not be in the lane. We don't want to be in the lane. But as you guys can see, there's just not really a lot of area for us to go. The right of way is narrow. The homes are near the right of way. So even if we were in the sidewalk, we'd still be doing their lane closures. And if we were open cutting, we would have dump trucks and everything else fighting through that traffic. Boring, where we don't have that. We're not contending with a steady flow of dump trucks and everything else.
Or Deputy Mayor have any helpful suggestions?
Just take a lot of aspirin, but I do have a couple questions. So you're asking for the shutdown right off the bat, right?
Yes.
So Mark, a question for you is, I thought we had a 2-week notification if we're going to be shutting a road down for MOT plan. I know that it's currently for the other side. Is that what they did on the east side of Madison? Cover them for this? Or is it just going to be where people drive in on Monday morning and all of a sudden they're.
Right, that is something we ask for on a road closure, 2-week notification, publish in a local newspaper, and contact to a list. We have a list of contacts that people to reach out to.
And signage?
Yeah, you probably would want to post a detour signage 2 weeks in advance, but yeah, you'd want it up probably sooner than the day of the closure. I'm not sure that the one that was done, notification that was done for east of Main Street would encompass this. I don't know what that looks like off the top of my head, but.
And if that's condition of approval, we'll move back 2 weeks. That's fine. I just want to point out that will push everything back 2 weeks, and that's fine. But that puts us more towards the end of November for completion.
Taking the restoration. Yeah.
And that's the concern.
Yeah, your asphalt plants will go.
Yeah, and from the city's perspective, this is a water company project. But when the phone rings, and trust me, they'll ring, they're not calling the water company. They're calling the city complaining about what are we doing, when's it going to be open? And I feel that maybe possibly, could have been in 2 or 3 weeks ago. I mean, I don't want to prolong it, but at the same token, I really don't want to get both eyes black of being a good person. So the other question I would have is, I would ask, I know you and I emailed and appreciate you looking to go from a week to 3 or 4 days. I would like to see it be a hard 3 or 4 days to myself. To me, it makes no difference if you have to work longer hours or double shifts or whatever it is to be able to get that intersection open. Would be a request that I would ask, is because, again, that's gonna.
Normal, I appreciate normal shutdown time being 5 o'clock, but that's just when things started happening around here, so.
So
We have enough problems answering, the appearance issues. And then if actual work stops at 5 o'clock, that creates a lot more problems, so.
I think we can commit to the 3 to 4 days on the eastbound, which is what we previously discussed. And I can certainly work with Omera and have them work extra hours and see if we can expedite as much as possible. The concern I have in saying it's going to be 3 to 4 days is that if it's not 3 or 4 days, then we're in more trouble than if we try to estimate at a longer time. So that's where my hesitation is. I feel comfortable committing to 3 days for the eastbound traffic. I am less comfortable with committing to the entire intersection for 3 days, and I don't want to overpromise something and get in a situation where we can't deliver. One of the things that we also have to think about is it's not just about Omera's crews. We need concrete to basically backfill that. We don't need flow fill, we need concrete. All of that is dependent on concrete plants, right? And I'm sure you guys have heard the woes of where we're at with concrete. So some of that is timing on that part too. So, I want to make sure that we don't get in a bind there as well. And I don't think anyone wants these road plated for an extended period of time while we wait on concrete. So
Does your contractor already have the commitment for the concrete for the start on that?
that's my understanding, yes.
Look, that would have been some time back.
Yeah, that's what we're working through this and trying to stay ahead of it as much as possible.
You have good weather next week.
And again, I understand the 2-week notice, so, that is on us and we need to do a better job of planning that. So if that's the route we want to take, we can certainly do that, but that will change some of our other closures as well.
That's it. Go forward. Get her done. Get it done.
So start on the 12th, 3 to 4 day closure. Eastbound,
And westbound will be open at that point, so we won't be affecting westbound traffic outside of that intersection until after the week, or until the third, the 20th, yeah.
And so when you have that completed, that's when you immediately start on the remaining.
Yep,
And that's a 2-month.
that's anticipated to be 2 months. That's all inclusive of installing the main, testing the main, going back and doing all of the service tie-ins. I think there's something like 30 services there, so that's a significant number of services, installing the fire hydrants and doing the tie-ins.
I would add that when you have eastbound traffic close that intersection, the intersection is essentially closed to traffic based on how the city's roadway construction is currently set up.
Yeah.
Because you would not be able to turn left off of Main Street to go northbound. You would not be able to go through on Main Street northbound, because you would have the eastern portion of that intersection blocked off. And we don't currently have southbound traffic on Madison Street. Yeah. So if you have a 3-day closure for that eastbound traffic, you essentially have to close that intersection. Of course, once you're done with that 3 or 4-day closure, you move to the northern half, the westbound lanes, then it'll allow traffic to flow.
And we are,
again on Main
we
Street.
have asked Omer to look into bringing in additional crews to try to work on that both sides at the same time. So we are, that is the push that we're working through.
I think I noticed them working longer hours when they were working on
Yeah.
the other section over there after hours.
Yeah, typically, especially with boring, you have to get to a certain point to make it stable, and sometimes that point doesn't come until 7 o'clock at night. So.
Would we need a motion?
Is that something?
Yeah, I'll move that we approve the request of the closure for eastbound for up to, did you say 3 days?
3 or 4.
Okay,
Give me 4, please.
okay, 4 days. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, with the caveat that we will pursue longer working hours.
Absolutely.
And then work with staff on the road closures. And then any other notification that we need for this phase 2 to extend that for that 2-week rule that we have.
Yeah.
On the phase that's.
I'll ask them to go ahead and set up the notices or whatever
Yes.
for the work on the staff. And then also just as an FYI, we are having just like a public meeting tomorrow. We've sent notices to all the residents in this general area, all of our customers, to just explain the project and talk through any concerns they have as well. So we're doing that tomorrow.
Some of them may be here tonight.
Second.
I'm sure.
Further discussion?
Did this motion include the closure for the work between Madison and Beachview, or would that be a separate motion?
That'd be a separate motion. I'm just taking the main intersection. Right. Yeah. I'm second.
Any further discussion? If none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye. Well, then you have a request, then second request is. to
The
close.
second request would be the closure on, for
That's-
westbound Main Street from Beachview to Madison.
And that's a 2-month closure.
That's a 2-month closure, yes.
Let's notice given probably right away.
Yeah.
And when is this public meeting?
Tomorrow, we have it set up tomorrow, so we sent out notification prior to, obviously today. I think it was sent out via last week sometime, and then we also did, we have like a code red system, so anyone that's part of that, they will, like, within that area, the general area here, receive notice that way as well.
Something I forgot to ask, is there anyone in the audience or online who would like to address us in this issue? With no further discussion, all in favor, say aye. Aye.
Well, we
Oh,
already
We've
did
done
the
that. I
motion on
thought, yeah, I did.
that. I haven't made a motion.
Oh, I
I
thought
say
you
nobody's
made
made
a
a motion
motion.
yet.
I'll move. that we
Jeff made a
approve the
motion. I'll second. Any further discussion?
2-month closure.
Uh,
Up
I-
to 2-month closure.
Couple of comments I would like to make on the pavement restoration. Indiana American Water has committed to a millage overlay of that entire eastbound lane. Right now you can see a blue, westbound lane, yes, sorry, the north lane. Right now you can see a blue, where they're proposing to patch, put in roadway patches there. I would just ask that part of the approval include coordination with my department on pavement restoration that may extend all the way up to a full mill and overlay of that south lane as well, too, depending on how much they cut it open.
And this, I'm assuming coordinating with your office is also going to be whether or not there's material available at the time that they get it plugged, right? Like in November, we're talking.
So
Well,
we
they
did,
would,
Mark and I did discuss that previously. So if we get to a point where we have a bad winter and then they've already closed, we'll complete that mill and overlay in the spring. Any patches that we have, which will not be this significant because, again, the boring as much, will come flush with concrete. So we avoid any of the cold patch maintenance, traffic hazard issues that we can see. So we'll do that, and we'll mill out that concrete, and we'll do the inch and a half mill in the spring if necessary.
And they could place that concrete patch in colder weather.
Mhm.
And yeah, it would last longer than cold patch if it's down the plows.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Good luck. Help us out.
Yeah.
Best you can. You're all welcome to stay. It's very exciting. Next, Meyer Commercial Subdivision. Andrew, are you with us online?
Yes, sir.
Good evening.
How you guys doing?
Good.
You don't want to close the road, do you, Andrew?
That's, I was just about to ask that if I could have a road closure, please.
Yeah.
Mine's a little more simple, just looking for the execution of the final plat of Lot 8 in the Meyer parking lot. We were in front of you a couple months ago for the Bigby lot. This is just north of that between the Golden Corral. Civil plans are almost completed, just taking care of a couple last comments. So a site plan will be coming shortly in front of you guys as well.
Andrew, where's this going? I'm having trouble.
So, yeah, this is in the Meyer parking lot, the very northeast corner of that Meyer parking lot. So the Golden Corral is just to the north of it.
So it's between
And-
Golden Corral and Bigview.
That's correct. Yep, that's
Okay,
correct.
I'm with you. And that's gonna be a wings setter or something like
A
that?
wings, et cetera. Yep, and then it'll have like 4 strips in the back of it as well that don't have no tenants or anything right now. It's just the wings, et cetera, with some empty shell building.
We move that we approve the request. Second.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Andrew. Have a Good evening.
You too.
Dustin Myers, Crossroad Engineers.
Mr. Hoover, represents Creekwood Christian Academy, and I wasn't aware of this till this afternoon, so I don't have waivers, so I will not be participating in this discussion.
Good evening, Dustin Myers, Cross Engineers, here this evening on behalf of Greenwood Christian Academy to receive approval of the performance guarantees and the inspection and testing agreement.
Mark, anything different from what we've got in Paul County's memo?
No, sir. I move for approval. Second.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Don't see Doug Wagner here, so he must be online. Mr. Wagner?
I'm coming in.
Oh, okay.
I had everything on mute and offline, so yes. Good evening, guys. I'm pretty simple for you today as well. The first on the agenda is homecoming section 13. We've got all the sidewalks completed and inspected. So I'm asking for the acceptance of the sidewalk improvements, acceptance of a maintenance guarantee, and release of our performance bonds.
Mark, everything looks pretty straightforward on this one?
Yes, I believe an old bond form was used, so we don't have receipt of the maintenance guarantee, but I believe it's on its way to us, so that was the condition.
That'll be the condition. Okay.
Yes.
Motion plus, subject to that condition. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Doug, your second one.
All right, yep. My second one is the same thing, but it's Homecoming University section 14. And yeah, we did the wrong International Chamber of Commerce number document on our first draft. And so I do have the new drafts in my hands. I agreed with Paul that when after this meeting, I would bring the originals back down because I've already been down there twice. I'd bring the originals back down and then pick up the released performance bonds as well as the old original bonds that I have to get back as well. So that I am aware of that condition and I'm fine with that. So again, homecoming 14, acceptance of improvements, which are sidewalks, acceptance of the maintenance guarantee and release of our performance bond.
We'll make that motion. Second. Further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion passes. Thanks, Doug. Have a good evening.
All right, guys, thank you very much. Bye now.
All right. Joe Fisher, Wheatley Group. Evening.
Good evening.
Got a lot of things. on here.
Yeah, Dylan Fisher, Wheeler Group, representing Denton Floyd Real Estate Development Group, the developer's of record for the Arlington Farms multifamily project that's going in out on County Line Road and Combs Road, recently annexed to the community. We're here this evening, presenting or requesting approval of a variety of items, the performance guarantees, inspection, testing agreement for the general improvement as well as sanitary extension, the execution of the final plat, emergency vehicle access license agreement, as well as a stormwater waiver request. And then I thought they were supposed to have some offsite sanitary easements as well, but it doesn't look like they're on the agenda, so. if those aren't on here-
Those should be, it's a type on the agenda. Those are
Okay.
Before the board tonight.
Okay, so yeah, so I guess it really is actually 6 items, not just 5 for you all this evening. Questions?
What was the sixth item?
That's the offsite sanitary easements. So it's not identified on the agenda, but they're here to present for you all this evening as well.
So they're bringing a sanitary sewer main, they're extending it from Grand Road all the way east to their site, and they have to go through several easements that they've acquired to construct the sanitary sewer main. That's what those sanitary sewer easements are.
Well, let's do maybe the easy ones first. First, second, third. Second, the performance guarantees, inspection and testing agreements, executing the plat.
I'd move for approval on those.
I'll say.
Also, the conditions that are set forth in the Paul's memo, correct? Further discussion?
We haven't seen the memo. We haven't received a memo from Paul today, so we have to take that.
The conditions are received the original final plat and review and approval of that by the engineering and planning department, is condition 1. Second is receive revised legal descriptions and exhibits for the 4 offsite easements, and then review and approval of the same by the engineering division. And resolution of the issue with address the offsite easement so that it can be finalized by the legal department and signed by us. Would that also, those are the conditions that are listed, would that also then encompass the 4 offsite easements if we were talking about that? That require a separate.
Correct. There was some corrections to those offsite easements where the legal descriptions were written. There were some errors that we found in them that need to be revised. So it'd be a conditional approval of them upon revision to those legal descriptions. of
So
those
that
offsite easements.
takes care of the 6th issue that would be on the agenda. Okay.
And it wasn't a memo, it just didn't make it to the list.
Is there a second?
Yes.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Okay. Now we can go to the acceptance of the emergency vehicle access license agreement. We've got that in front of us, correct?
Yeah, so we are proposing and requesting approval of license agreement to provide access over to the property from Combs Road. It will be lockbox accessible for the fire truck and emergency engine responders only.
This is the way it's been drafted. Maybe that's for the deputy mayor to sign. If there's a motion to approve that.
So moved.
Second that. Further discussion.
What's the purpose of this again?
You all requested basically an additional access point for emergency responders. It's kind of a large site, so we were able to work out with the adjacent property owner to provide in the interim to get access to your fire trucks. if
To
you
the
need.
west.
To the west, yes. off of
So
Combs Road,
not
Combs
a
Road.
So they,
paved, is it a
It
paved?
will be, so they have 2 entrances off of County Line Road, but they don't have a lot of County Line Road frontage. So they're very tight entrances and a deeper site with a lot of buildings on it. So the fire department requested a secondary access off of Combs Road. They do require that it be strong enough to support the weight of a fire truck, and we like to see paved. We don't like gravel in the city, so it will be an asphalt access road. I believe you're taking it up through base or intermediate or something.
Yeah, there was a
It won't
spec
be
that was agreed
full
upon by
on
the
road,
city.
but it has been reviewed and approved.
Is it then open or is it?
No, there'll be a gate across it at Combs Road with a lockbox on it that only the fire department can access.
Like with the Knox box or
Yeah,
something, correct, that only have the keyboard?
Further discussion. Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. And now the waiver request. Help us out here, Mark.
So there are 2 stormwater waiver requests before you tonight for this project. The first is a waiver request for the 0.1 foot minimum drop inlet structures. They have provided that on the majority of their storm sewer systems. There's a couple of pipe runs between the 3 ponds on their site that are flat, and those pipes are flat. Essentially, the ponds stage together at the same elevations. So if those pipes have drops in them, then they can't stage at the same elevations. So that's the first waiver. Maybe the second one, or do you? Okay. Okay. The second one is the restore 90% of detention capacity within 48 hours to the ponds for a 100-year storm event. They are restoring 90% capacity at 62 hours. And at 48 hours, they'll have 75% capacity. Again, this is one we see a lot. Greenwood is flat, and our release rates are very tight. And I think just the elevation of their discharge point to gross ditch 2 makes it difficult to achieve.
My understanding is your office recommends both of these rate requests.
We are okay with both of these. I would make the motion to approve both waiver requests.
Second. Further discussion? Speaking now, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Next, we got a couple minutes here. Let's go to the RS Ford subdivision. Ryan, you with us?
Yes, hello, good evening.
Good
Thank
evening.
you.
Tell us what we're doing.
This is a request for approval of a replat that really for our purposes was designed solely to extend the northern parcel line for what is labeled there as Lot 1 from where it currently sits, which is just around, there's an east-west easement there about 5 or 10 feet. I think it's just north of that currently. This moves it all the way to the northern line that you see of that entire plat. Where it had been owned by what is labeled as Block A, it would now move that to ownership of Lot 1 to allow the owner of Block A to convey the building on the northern piece there to the owner of Lot 1. So it's but for the fact that we don't have an extra tax parcel for that, we would not have needed this, but this is simply a way to permit that conveyance per the county recorder.
Okay. Mark, anything out of the ordinary on this one? That's gonna be, I'll move that we accept and execute the final replat for RS Ford subdivision.
Second.
Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Yeah. You wanna leave?
Yeah, not really.
Okay, go ahead.
You want to sign this first?
I can come back, sign some stuff tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
Next, we'll go to
Thank you very much.
Brighton Knoll subdivision, Greg Allen and Bob Wild.
Actually, that'll be presented by state staff tonight.
Okay.
So before you, we are just asking that you authorize city staff to prepare a SAF credit agreement and a 15-year law agreement for the Brighton Knoll subdivision that is proposed to be constructed along the gap in Maple Drive between Featherstone subdivision and Alden Place subdivision. That's located north of Cutzinger Road, just north of the new fire station 93, kind of west of Freedom Springs. And then authorize the mayor to sign on the final agreement on the board's behalf.
Questions for Mark?
I would move that we approve the request.
I'll second that. Further discussion? See aye?
Aye.
Motion passes. Anyone from the audience wish to address us? Todd? Todd wants some trucks.
Good evening.
Evening.
I'll make this fast as I can. Apologize for short notice. We all know it's right now big for anything to find and the commitments. And I got commitments on and final pricing on 3 last evening, and that's kind of couldn't wait till next meeting to get this. There is a break we may lose some So I'm here tonight to request the approval to purchase two 2023 Chevrolet Equinox LS all-wheel drives at $26,207 each. For a total of $52,414. That, the order and those will be paid using the 2022 GO bond. And the third one, requesting a purchase approval for a 2022 Chevrolet Silverado 1500 double cab at $40,800, and that will be paid with funds from the 2021 GO bond.
Are we trading anything in or?
At
replacing
this
anything?
time, it's replacements, but I'm not in a big hurry to move because we have positions coming up, things coming, and I don't want to get rid of things and then be short. So, yeah, we probably will move some at some point,
Not
but
doing it
not in a big rush at this point.
And Greg, I assume he's got the money? Okay,
I move for approval. Request.
second. Further discussion, when will we get that?
The truck is actually scheduled to be built, if it stays on time, which nobody's been good at this year, later this month. I don't expect the Equinoxes until very end of the year or after first year.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thanks, Todd. Anyone else from the audience wish to address us, either in person or online? Hearing none, we'll move on to Mr. Hodson to report on the IDM compliance claim status update.
All well, as well, item I have nothing to report.
Very good.
First on my list is the Pearl Street parking lot. We had a flotsam easement. It was done a long time ago, only for the purpose of storing cinder blocks. That purpose is long past, and we need to extinguish it.
I would move that we approve that request and authorize the deputy mayor to sign.
Second, further discussion. Hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion passes.
Next up is a contract with a group to help us with the landscaping at the parking lot, Our Lady of Greenwood City parking lot. This was small contract, $39.95.
Where would this be, saying?
The parking lot that we repay for the church. We maintain it. It's part of the
So
deal.
just around the perimeter, I take it?
Yeah.
Approve that request
Second,
and authorize the deputy mayor to sign.
further discussion. Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Thanks, Sam. All right,
Yes.
wait, throw away.
One of
Hard to
these,
believe.
one of these days, we'll have all three sections back in education and runway inventory. So yes, once again, before you tonight, Ray Crow Way, this is to accept the improvements of the western portion that's shown in yellow on your screen here. These were installed by the city back in 2014, turned over to Clark Pleasant Community School Corporation. They are now returning them to us. So this is to accept that yellow portion into our inventory.
So moved.
Second, further discussion. Hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Motion passes.
The next item I have for you is approval of change order number 2 for the Main Street Meadowview Drive, Yorktown Road roundabout. The construction of this roundabout was substantially completed last summer in 2021. There was final restoration of punch list work that occurred this spring, which is why we're finally closing out the contract now. This change order adds 2 additional days to the contract completion date. These days were requested due to encountered utilities during storm sewer construction. It does not add any cost to this project. There was one previous change order, and to date, total change orders on this project are less than 1%.
I move that we approve.
Second, further discussion. Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
The final item I have before us is authorizing the mayor or deputy mayor to sign on the board's behalf a sanitary sewer service special agreement once it is approved by City Legal Sanitation and the engineering division for the Wings Next Centra project. There's a small portion of sanitary sewer main they need to extend behind Lighter to have sewer
approval.
Second, in the question mark in the memo, just says for the following project, the wings, et cetera. Is that gonna be more tenants in there eventually? Is that?
Yes, you can see on the screen right now, there's Lincoln Central will be in the front half of that building. You can kind of see the building lines on there. Right now, they're showing two smaller buildings. They don't have any tenants for that building yet. And then that large empty square, they're kind of going back and forth between, are we gonna put a building on there, or are we not gonna put a building on there? Doesn't really change our site approval too much, affects some of the planning things, but,
How are they dealing with parking? Are they dealing with Meyer or sharing their lot?
yes, so I believe Meyer has more spots than they technically need for our ordinance. I think that's how Meyer does business. They pave over their outlots, put parking lots on them, and then develop the outlots at a future time. So I don't know if they sell the lots or rent the lots, but they have a lot of parking on the north side of Meyer that I don't think a lot of people realize, but that exists as well. So there's large parking on the north side of the building.
No further discussion? Call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Is that all, Mark?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Greg?
Good evening. One item this evening for you, a master services engagement letter and addendum with Baker Tilly. This doesn't actually commit us to any services with them. They'll provide a scope of work, which we take up before this board and have the price associated. Specifically, what we're looking to get from them is a scope of work on filing our annual comprehensive financial report. We've had significant issues with the current vendor for that the past couple of years, so we're trying to get an idea of maybe moving on from that. So this would give us the ability to then bring in the scope of work and get that approved, and if they would provide us other services throughout, they would just need to be added on through that. I would ask that you approve it for the sign up for the cap.
You sign or
Yeah, for the
they?
controller. They don't have a specific anybody.
Oh,
Okay.
We put
You can
Terry's
change it to
name
the
on it.
deputy.
Yeah.
I would move that
Sorry,
we approve the request and authorize the deputy mayor to sign.
Second, further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thanks, Greg. Well, Jeff, you're gonna have to do it again. Anybody else in the audience wish to talk to us? Well, thanks a lot.
All right. I move we approve the claims.
Second, further discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We'll stand adjourned at 6:39 PM. Thank you all.